So this was a tremendous development in chronic peritoneal dialysis, avoiding the risk of perforations and avoiding the risk of pain. And still, of course, it was not the answer. The answer came through this gentleman, this Dr. Stanley Fenton, who was in Seattle with Tenkov and Scribner, and then he came to Toronto 2 years later. I'm talking now in 1970-71, and he brought the technology of the permanent Tenkov catheter, something that I was not aware. And he introduced this technology at the Toronto General Hospital, and a rotating surgical resident who came to us and he was seeing what we was doing, he recommended that we should try to use this permanent Tenkov catheter. And indeed, we tried it, and this was really revolutionary. The patients had a permanent access. We didn't have to slip catheters, trocars through. And this is a patient now who has the permanent Tenkov catheter, the flexible catheter. He can sit while he is doing dialysis. He can do work while his nurse is exchanging the dialysis bags. I want you to notice that the dialysis bags were coming in 2-liter glass containers. There were no plastic containers at that time. Subsequently, when we had plastic containers and the permanent Tenkov catheter, we even dared to send some patients do their own dialysis at home. So we taught this lady, who was the first patient we sent at home, how to connect this tubing with her permanent Tenkov catheter, and then how to connect this tubing with this plastic bag. By that time, Baxter had produced for us the plastic container, the solutions in plastic containers. And the solution would stay for an hour into her cavity, and during the time she can do her housework and she can look after her children and whatever she wants. This was our own first attempt of sending peritoneal dialysis at home. I want to pay credit to Gabor Zellerman here, who was a Hungarian medical engineer, who was working with us, and he was instrumental to do a number of developments at that very early stages. For example, the permanent Tenkov catheter, one of the problem had was mobile inside the peritoneal cavity and often would move outside the pelvis and would have outflow problems. The fluid would run in and would not run out. So we had some idea of how we can put some silicone flat discs here to make the movement more difficult. And also to avoid leak of the dialysis solution from the hole, we created a Dacron disc there where the surgeon could tie very tightly the peritoneal cavity. So that was his Gabor's idea. Every time we had a meeting, we were saying, let us do something. 2 or 3 days, he would come up with a proposal, a prototype. And that kind of slide shows the various prototypes that we tried before we end up with a standard catheters that we named Toronto Western Hospital catheters that we have been using until recently. You see that the 2 Dacron discs that we have here that would make the movement of the catheter from inside the peritoneal cavity more difficult. This is another sample of the catheter that Gabor had come up to avoid the movement. Just he put a weight at the tip of the catheter, and we never tried it, but now there is a nephrologist in Italy who came up with a similar idea, and now all the Italian nephrologists are using these catheters, and we may even try that. Just to emphasize here, to avoid the leaks, we created, that was Gabor's idea, how to create this bulb, silicone bulb, and this is the Dacron cuff, but also he made this Dacron disc. So you can imagine with the fibrosis that's created, there was no way that there would be leak of fluid after a week of implantation of this catheter. We did a study. It did show that actually these catheters were more successful in moving out of the peritoneal cavity. The next important development came from Norman Lasker from Philadelphia, who, with the grant of the thankful parent whose daughter died from renal failure, developed the first cycler. So his idea was that you will have the solutions in the containers. It would have this multi-pronged tube. It will go through a heater, then through this cycling device will go to the patient, then will be allowed to drain out by the patient, and the cycle would be repeated. This was really an important development because the patients don't have to do it, and they could stay and do it overnight. And that was the whole idea, doing the dialysis at night. This is the last years. And this is the first generation of these cyclers that we bought. And you see the plastic bags that we had, 4 of them. There's the heater, and this was the cycler that would allow the fluid to go from here to be heated, from the heater to the patient, from the patient to a scale here to be weighed, and from the scale just to come out to a drain bag there. Tremendous developments that allowed us to have 40 patients doing dialysis at home. Just to move on a little bit, saying that with these developments we were able for the first time to dialyze elderly patients. Until that time, I'm talking the early 70s, the elderly patients were frowned from dialysis. You were most of the people, if your patients were over 60, 65, were dissuaded not to go on dialysis. But in peritoneal dialysis, this lady was in her late 70s. We did it, and I think that this opened the door for the geriatric nephrology. They opened the door for more and more people to be accepted for dialysis. And nowadays, the average age of our new patients is 65. To dialyze patients in their 80s and 90s is not unusual at all. So nephrologists are amateur geriatricians in some way, looking after elderly patients. With this device, we were able to train patients to do at home. Even this patient who was missing his right arm and had a hook here, but we were so strong and so pro home dialysis that we could do all these things and send patients on that. Now, all these things going, this was intermittent dialysis. The patients were doing 4 nights a week or twice a week. And until 1979, when Dr. Tenkov was co-author of an abstract that was appeared in the American Society for Artificial Organs, it said that it is concluded that intermittent peritoneal dialysis, due to a high long-term dropout rate, is not as satisfactory as chronic hemodialysis. This was kind of the biggest blow in everything that we're doing, and all those few at that time who were doing peritoneal dialysis. And I was present when this was presented, and it was something that made me depressed for the next month. But fortunately, I had access to the work of these 2 gentlemen through a fellow who worked with me and worked with them. This is Dr. Popovich, a medical engineer who did research with Dr. Scribner. And he conceived the idea that if you put fluid for 6 hours and you change it, and you do these changes for 4 or 5 times a day, you will remove as much waste products that the body produces on a daily basis. And indeed, Dr. Moncrief, a nephrologist working with him in Austin, Texas, tried it in some of his patients, and the results were fantastic.